All right, so the Patriots are kicking it off, number 32. I mean, Drake May can't do it all by himself. Defense isn't really there. Offensive line sucks, and really one of the strengths of the offense is supposed to be running the football with Ramondre Stevenson and just kind of controlling the game in that way. They can't even do that. Couldn't stop the run. Jaguars just ran over them as much as they wanted to. Jaguars did what they wanted to. Can't stop the deep pass. I mean, they're just a mess. 32, they belong down here. You know, a similar situation for the Panthers. I mean, with the exception of not having a young quarterback. I mean, they can't run the ball. Andy Dalton looked like crap. Now that, the film's out there, he's played a couple weeks, teams know what to do. And their offensive line is horrible. Commanders pressured Andy Dalton all day long. And even with Marcus Mariota coming out, they still struggled to play defense against Marcus Mariota. Now, Commanders do have some really good weapons, and they have a good team in general. So, but they're staying down here at number 32. Jaguars at 30. My thing with the Jaguars is you're going to eventually have to be able to, get some of the, just have more consistent offense in the intermediate and short passing. Run the football more. Obviously, that's working. That's fine. Keep running that football, and then you could continue to take those deep shots as well. But if you cannot consistently run the football and your offense is going to rely on the deep pass every single week, that's not sustainable. It's simply not. It's not a way to stay consistent. Teams are just going to be able to sit back and cover against a deep pass. It's difficult to do. Trevor Lawrence, Brian Thomas, they're insane right now. But, when it comes to the littler things, when it comes to the simpler things that you have to be doing right, like the intermediate, some of the shorter passing things, you have to do those consistently as well. You can't just deep pass it. But if they can keep that run game going, they can continue to have that run game going as strong it is with Travis Etienne and Tank Bigsby. Tank Bigsby has been absolutely awesome. You need to, then you could kind of bounce a deep passing game after that. You run the football really well. Okay, they're low in the box. All right, let's take a shot. Boom, touchdown. But you can't do that all the time. You need more than just the deep passing in the passing game. The deep passes are awesome. They're fun. They're great. They're explosive in that aspect, but you got to be able to convert on the third downs. You got to be able to convert on the 3rd and 5s. And, when you just got to hit a quick out route or, something over the middle, that's where Trevor Lawrence really struggles. He doesn't see the field well. They will begin to stall. As you see it, they stall. They stall when they can't get anything else going. Will this win by time for Doug Peterson? That's kind of my question for the Jaguars. I think Doug Peterson's really just about gone. I don't know why I did that, but you just saw the rest of them. I don't know why I did that already. 29, Raiders. I mean, Max Crosby can't do it all by himself. Gardner Minshew, they don't have a quarterback that can, and it's unfortunate that Pierce, their head coach, isn't really going to make it out of this season alive. I mean, he will probably make it through the season, even if that. I don't know if he will, but, I predict he will. But it's unfortunate. He was really given a bad situation. Really didn't give the guy a quarterback. I mean, the defense, they're all right here and there, but Raiders are really, really just not a good football team. They're down here at number 29 for a reason. Dolphins offense can't get anything going. Colts have one of the worst defenses in the NFL, running and passing wise, and you could only put up 10 points. And on top of that, the Colts were just able to amass more points and build on their and just over time get more points than the Dolphins. And Dolphins offense really bad without Tua. I'm hearing whispers that Tua could be back this upcoming week. That would be big. But I mean, I don't know why they didn't run the football more. I just don't know that aspect. The Colts have been getting very lucky, very fortunate the last couple of weeks that the Dolphins and Titans really didn't continue running the football. But I mean, very, very bad day for the Dolphins there, and it is what it is. It is what it is. 27, you have the Browns. Watson goes down. Winston comes in. Winston actually looked pretty good. And, Watson was actually playing one of his better games. I think he was playing his best game until his injury. Very unfortunate. But what is his future looking like? I mean, they got Conklin back as well. So the offensive line, definitely not good, but getting a little boost there. But, yeah, down 2 spots. Bad game for the Browns. I mean, they kept in it. They're kind of in it. You know what I mean? At least they stayed somewhat competitive. Titans, yeah, the beginning of the game, you're playing really well. It seems like they were calling a lot of zone. They weren't really calling man coverage, and they were winning at halftime, 10-7. And then the second half, they just fell apart. They kind of hold against the Bills too long, and the turning points is what did it. The big time plays, a fourth down stop for the Bills. It felt like once they didn't convert on that fourth down, the entire momentum of the game switched, and the Bills never looked back. Titans, but like I said, their defense played good in the first half. I don't know why they switched it up in the second half as much as they did. Should have called more zone. Questionable, but whatever. Titans down here at 26. All right, now we move on to the next row. Giants, offensive line, dude. Their offensive line is just horrible. Their entire offense outside of Malik Neighbors is bad. John Michael Smith, the center coming out of Maryland, I was so excited for him. He's not looking really good now. Not really in a system that he's, not really his, what do you call it? I don't think he really fits the system what the Giants like to do. He just doesn't fit their scheme, their scheme wise. But regardless, and then Andrew Thomas going down too, that doesn't help. Daniel Jones, yeah, I think they had like under 3 yards per play. I think it was like 2.2, 2.3 or 4 yards per play. As that is just that's something. I simply don't know what else to say for that. But defensive line, I think defensive line's good. I think the defense is all right, but run defense wasn't really there today. Saquon Barkley smoked them, and then Hurts and their offense did what they needed to do. AJ Brown really bailed Hurts out a couple of times, but nonetheless, really bad game. Fortune only moved down one spot, but these other teams just are bad. I think you go from 32, the Patriots to the Saints. I'd say, there are a lot of bad football teams this year. A lot of really bad football teams. And I think any of those teams can be down 30 or lower. Really, they're worthy of that kind of a ranking right now. You look at the Saints, other than the first 2 weeks, if you take those first 2 weeks away, they're probably, I probably had them down there at like 31, 30, 29. That's how bad they look. Maybe even not. I don't think 32. I don't think you really get worse than the Patriots or the Panthers. But it is what it is. But they had they had so many injuries last game too. Yeah, fair. I get it. And you played, I think 7 out of 11 of their offensive starters were out. They had like a couple tackles and Rattler, and it was bad. The injuries really killed them. But nonetheless, you got smoked, and going up against one of the better defenses in the NFL, and you're out half of your offense literally. Alvin Kamara is all this offense has, is all this offense really has. Once teams could just zone in on Alvin Kamara, and that's it. Once they shut down Alvin Kamara, it feels like that, the offense is shut down. It feels like that's it. But, all right. Next, Cardinals. They really shouldn't have won this game. They ran the football really well. They did what they had to do. They found a way to win, and did feel like they outplayed the Chargers a little bit. They had one of those weeks where they played good football. Very inconsistent football team. Felt like it was kind of in between of what they are. Some weeks beating the Niners, some weeks just looking incredible. Other weeks just, kind of blowing it. But they're up 5 spots. That might feel like a lot, but the Chargers have been a really damn good football team, and I just can't have the Cardinals under some of these other teams. I cannot have the Cardinals under the Saints, the Giants, Titans, Browns, Dolphins. I can't have them that low. The Cardinals have a couple of really nice wins under their belt. They have an okay resume. It's just a matter of fact of what Cardinals team are you going to get from week to week. And that's my big issue with them. But they're up 5 spots at 23. Pretty big mover. Cowboys staying put on the bye week. Move on. Colts, they find a way. They get really fortunate that they play another team that just cannot play any offense. Tyler Huntley, it felt like he had a couple of nice plays. Tyler Huntley kind of got going here and there once in a while. But at the end of the day, they were able to, felt like they ran the football much better. They stopped. Did they really stop the run towards the end? They did, but they didn't. The Dolphins didn't really run as much. Defense made a couple of big plays towards the end when they needed to the most. Anthony Richardson made a couple of nice throws, but Anthony Richardson, it's just like, 10 of 24. It feels like AR should be starting to at least get a couple of better games in there. I've talked about AR for quite some time. I don't think he's a future. I don't think he's a quarterback of the future for the Colts. I really don't. Yeah, he had the injury last year, fine. Didn't play most of last year, but he's looking the same he did again last year. He makes some really nice throws, but then, he simply looks like the same quarterback we saw in Florida. He doesn't look any different. He's overthrowing. He's making questionable decisions, and he's still lowering his shoulder. I get it, fine, whatever. You want to have fun. You want to do that kind of stuff. But there are a couple times where he's still in this game, but he's still lowering the shoulder and just looking for contact. It already has a couple of injuries. I mean, it is what it is. If you can't tell, I'm a Colts fan, just going off in the Colts. But moving up 2 spots, just felt like they were fortunate to move up 2 spots considering they beat a pretty porous Dolphins team. I mean, Tua coming back. They did. The secondary did pretty good though against Tyreek and Waddle. I think Tyreek and Waddle had 0 targets in the first half. Second half, Tyreek had that one where he kind of just lost the football. It felt like Tyler Huntley missed Jalen Waddle a couple times he was open, but nonetheless, Colts got fortunate in a couple of ways, but they win. They won They're a hot football team. They won 4 out of their last 5. Schedule really hasn't been there, and they lost to the Jaguars of all teams. But they beat the Dolphins, they beat the Titans, they beat the Bears. You know what I mean. But Rams, they're at 20. How about Kobe Durant? Freaking insane. He had an interception, pass breakup, and a strip sack. And I think it was all in the second quarter. I'm not mistaken. He just took the game over. And it felt like if you didn't get that stretch from Kobe Durant, I don't know if the Rams win that game. But Kyrie Williams looked really good. He did win. Kyrie Williams looked awesome. Injuries are really holding them back, though. They have a lot of injuries, big time moments, big time players hurt. So that's been affecting them in a big way. But yeah, they're staying put at 20. You beat a Raiders team, very sloppy football game, but you have so many injuries, it's tough. The Bears are moving up 1 spot, even though they were on the bye week. Rare instance. Not really. Teams move around all the time on their bye weeks. It's just a matter of fact of how the rest of the board falls. But Bears moving up 1 spot to 19 coming off the bye. No, I actually think I moved them down 1 spot. I might have. Completely forgetting where I had them last week. I had them at 18. I moved them down 1 spot. My bad. I just felt like the Broncos should have moved up over them. So that's a quick fix right there. Quick correction. Broncos. You better have won that game. You have one of the better defenses in the NFL. And the Saints had so many players out, as we talked about earlier. So they should have won that game. But the way they won it was impressive. Pretty much, the run game was on point. Nick struggled a little bit, yeah. I thought he had a rough day. But the run game was so freaking good. The Broncos, really good game against the Saints. They did win. They're moving up 5 spots. It's just, once again, you had a really good win against the Saints. What have they won the last 4 out of 5 too or something? The Broncos are a hot football team. They've been winning a lot of football games. They beat the Bucs early on really good, and their defense is looking great. Bo Nix he's learning. He's having some growing pains, but he showed some flashes. But so yeah, the Broncos are up 5. The Jets at 17. I don't get it. I don't think Aaron Rodgers is the problem. I really don't. The defense hasn't been good. You look at the defense, and I talked about this in the offseason. I talked about this all offseason long. A lot of times, it's very difficult to play great defense 2-3 seasons in a row. It's one thing to have 1 year where your defense looks elite and it's incredible and it's awesome. It's another thing to do it 2-3 couple years in a row and the defense hasn't been there. Like I said, Rodgers hasn't been the problem. They can't really run the ball. The O-line can't open up holes for the run game for Breece Hall. Garrett Wilson has sucked this year. He's sucked. He hasn't been making plays, and now he's got Devontae Adams on the other side. So, you should help open things up for you a little bit. And they got they got Adams, and they still couldn't do anything. They played a really good defense, but Garrett Wilson is just hitting the ball right in between his right in between the numbers. You know what I mean? Right in between, right in the chest. I don't think Aaron Rodgers is great. But I don't think he's been awesome. but he hasn't been the problem, if you ask me. But it's just the entire now it's the rest of the team. Last year was like, okay, they just need a quarterback. Okay, we got Rodgers towards Achilles, and then you had Zach Wilson and whoever the heck else you had playing for you, just missing that quarterback. Now this year it feels like everything else is failing you. It's whatever. I mean, moving down 6 spots, they haven't played well. I mean, they have an easy schedule coming up. They have an easy rest of the schedule, so I'm not giving up or bailing out on them yet. I could see them making a run in the second season. Maybe something starts clicking, but I don't know. I'm not bailing on them just yet, but it's not looking good. Chargers are up 2 spots, like I kind of said. Probably should have won that game. Controversial calls. I'm not going to put too much emphasis on that, but nonetheless, they couldn't stop the run. Then they did not move up 2 spots. They moved down 2 spots. I noticed I screwed up a couple of colors on the numbers. So the Chargers moved down 2 spots. They did not move up. They moved down 2 spots after the loss versus the Cardinals. It's just really disappointing. That run defense is looking all right up until this game. It didn't really show up here. But Chargers, disappointing loss. Very disappointing. So they're down 2 spots. The Eagles, they are up 1 spot. Barkley looks great. We always talk about the revenge games. Well, Barkley really had it. I think when Barkley is going, this offense is going to look good. But other than that, when Barkley isn't going, I still have my concerns about Hurts in the passing game. I surely do. Offense is really bad on 3rd down. Really getting fortunate. A.J. Brown bailing him out a couple times. Other than that, really no one else has really stepped up. Hurts, like I said, other than, I think they were like 1 for 12, 1 for 13 on 3rd downs, which is absolutely horrendous. The only way they can really convert 3rd downs consistently is the tush push. And that's an issue. That is an issue because Hurts can't really push the ball. He can't really make good decisions. He hasn't played well. He simply hasn't. Maybe he had a little bit better of a game this week, but it's not saying much. Really not. So I still have a lot of concerns with this Eagles team. I don't think this team is going to, be a good team down the stretch. I don't think they're going to be great down the stretch. Maybe they'll be all right, but yeah. They're up 1 spot, though. They do get the win over the Giants. They did pretty good running the football. Did pretty good. Their defensive line showed up, but then again, the Giants' offensive line is probably the worst in the NFL. And that's saying something. There are a lot of bad offensive lines this year. Bengals are up 1 spot. The Bengals and Browns is what it is. And fun fact, that was the Bengals' first win in Cleveland since 2017. Let's talk about the defensive line. This is kind of the key to the Bengals for the rest of the year. We know that the rest of the defense isn't great. They have some nice pieces. They do. They do have some solid players, but then again, take a step back and this defensive line is key to this Bengals success down the road. If the Bengals defensive line can play like they did today, or like they did versus the Browns, Trey Hendrickson, getting healthier, they're looking better, stopping the run. Don't forget you did play the Browns offensive line. Trey Hendrickson had a big time game, 2 sacks. I think he had like 3 pressures, something like that. One of the best pass rushers in the league, getting guys healthier in the defensive line. Some young guys stepping up. So they're up 1 spot, and 3 and 4, they're climbing back. They're climbing back into it, but they're going to have to continue to do so. That defensive line is the key. That is their key for the rest of the season. If that defensive line can show up, it'll be fine because that offense. They can make things work. You have Joe Burrow. Like you said, it's inevitable. He's inevitable. So they're up 1 spot. They're on a couple game win streak. I have played some pretty bad teams. But I think they won like 3 out of their last 4, something like that. So getting some momentum. But yeah, it's still a lot. Still a lot to unpack. Still a lot to improve on. The Seahawks are up 4 spots. What a game from the Seahawks. They were all over Kirk Cousins. That defense was top-notch. That defense was freaking awesome. They're pressuring Kirk Cousins all day long. Their defense was getting healthier. And, it's kind of as simple as, we talked about Aaron Rodgers and his guys not really stepping up and hitting the people around him. But for Geno Smith, that has been happening for Geno Smith and the Seahawks offense. Their playmakers are stepping up. Kenneth Walker has looked great. DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, and, most importantly of all, Geno Smith has been awesome as well. You give him a little bit of time. His playmakers are making plays. They're doing what they need to do. That's it. The Seahawks looking good. You know what I mean? Pretty good game from the Seahawks. They're looking like they're trying to get back on track. And on the complete other side of things, it's quite the opposite for the Niners. Now they're so beat up, have so many injuries, but Brock Purdy really struggled under pressure. And usually Purdy doesn't struggle under pressure. He was out his top 3 receivers, of course, no Debo, Ayuk, Juwan Jennings. I don't think he played, but the injuries are really piling up. So are they going to be able to fight through these injuries and find a way to make, the playoffs at this point? Because they have so many, some people are complaining about Kyle Shanahan. I don't know why. Shanahan is great. Look how bad the injuries are. Yeah, it's next man up. But then again, there is a degree of impact that some injuries have on your teams. So some of the impact is greater with other players than others. You know what I mean? So, you lose your top 3 weapons, you lose some offensive linemen, a lot of your defense, half of your defense is hurt. You're going to not be as good. It's going to be that much more difficult. So, relax in the Kyle Shanahan hate and that kind of stuff, because Shanahan's fine. I have no problem with him. So, yeah, Niners are down 3 spots. Really sloppy football. Struggling versus the Chiefs. It felt like every time they found a way to, climb back, and it just felt like the Chiefs were playing. I just couldn't keep up. Injuries too much. Falcons are down 1 spot now. Maybe I should have moved the Falcons down more, but the Falcons have beaten some good teams. They've looked really good at times. So I didn't move them down more than this. Okay. But a couple things I have to go through here is, they're inconsistent. Defense hasn't looked good versus better offenses. Kirk Cousins has not played great. Let's talk about that for a moment. Kirk Cousins has not looked good. The offense isn't as explosive as I thought it would be this year. I mean, they're really struggling. They're not throwing the ball deep. They're not. I don't know if it's the coach. I don't know if the receiver's not getting separation. I don't know if the passing concepts suck. Deep down the field, or what. Or you're just not drawing up better passing concepts, or ones deeper down the field. But there is no deep passing game right now, and it feels like when the Falcons get that deep passing game going, it's a really tough offense to stop. But they can't get it going. You know what I mean? So, I mean, the defense hasn't been there. The run game has been there. The run game has been awesome. Tyler Algier and Bijan Robinson, they're tearing it up. But the offensive line, in terms of pass blocking, they're not getting the job done. They allowed 3 sacks and 20 pressures versus the Seahawks. And Kirk Cousins has struggled too. Kirk Cousins has not played well. So that brings up the question. Is Kirk Cousins' seat heating up? They're paying him a lot of money. But you have a young quarterback, Michael Penix Jr., it's starting to I don't think his seat is warm yet, but I think we're starting to see some of the early signs of, okay, this might not be the answer. Kirk Cousins maybe is not there. Maybe coming back from, he's not ready from that Achilles yet. He's having a hard time coming back from that injury. Older quarterback. I mean, maybe you're just taking the dip. I don't know. But the offense has been very disappointing. Very disappointing. Defense hasn't been good. I mean, the run game is good. That's about it on the offense. The third down conversions, the third down offense is bad. You can't get anything going past 5 yards. And, in the passing game, that's an issue. Teams catch on to that. I just freaking showed it. Dang it. I don't know why. I don't know why I did that twice this video. Steelers 10. They moved up 2 spots. I really made a couple big mistakes this week with those numbers. They moved up 2 spots, not down. Nice day. Russell Wilson proved me wrong. I was like, why are you sitting Justin Fields when he just had his best game? You know, but Mike Tomlin came out and he said, look, I'm not looking to win games. I'm looking to win a Super Bowl. And he owned up to it. He said, look, this is my decision. I'm having Russell Wilson start. And Russell Wilson looked great. I mean, Pickens looked good. Najee Harris has looked good. The Steelers have looked fine, man. So they're making their way into the top 10 for me. A couple other teams moving down. The Steelers taking advantage. Number 9, you have the Bucs. Right in the beginning of the game, it felt like that the Bucs were going to win it. I mean, it felt like they were starting strong, looking good, but then you had the Mike Evans drop, and then the Baker Mayfield interception. It just turned the tide of the game, and it felt like after that the game was over at halftime. What was it, 27-10, close to halftime, or like right after, whatever. Yeah, really disappointing game. Just right in the beginning, the tone was set. You know what I mean? And moving down 1 spot is maybe a little generous when you have a Steelers team that is pretty hot, looking pretty good themselves. But I'm going to be a little generous and we'll only move them down 1 spot. But not good. Not good. They've struggled. That defense is not look good. Antoine Winfield Jr. has not looked good. And I like this defense. I was giving this defense the props. But lately they haven't been doing it. They haven't been able to do it. So hopefully they can shore that defense back up and get it figured out again. The Commanders moving up 4 after a huge one versus Commanders. Or a huge one versus the Panthers. I get it. It was the Panthers. 4 spots may be a lot. Other teams had to move down. The Commanders had to move up. Niners, Falcons. The Bucs. Some of these other teams had to move down. You know what I mean? So the Commanders looking good. Jaden Daniels went down, but Marcus Mariota still looked fine. The running game is more than capable of taking over games if they need to. Offensive line did fine. Defensive line, how about Dante Fowler Jr.? Wow, what a game from him. He wrecked the game. And, it's the Panthers. Nonetheless, the Commanders, they did it. They smoked them. They beat them the way they should have. They beat them the way a really good team should have. And I moved up 4 spots as well because they kept it close against the Ravens. As well. And the Ravens, look at how good they have been. They smoked the Bucs, and they smoked the Bills at one point. So, Commanders, they're hanging in there. They smoked the Panthers. Really excited. It seemed like Jaden Daniels would have been able to go back in, but probably playing it safe. And we'll see. Hopefully he can get healthy soon. Even if he does, he probably will play with it next week. He might not be 100%. And remember him coming out of college, smaller quarterback. Let's hope that he can stay healthy. He has a small frame. And he likes to run the football too. And that was a big knock on him. Very small frame, smaller quarterback. So hopefully he can find a way to stay healthy, get better from this, and stay on the field. Texans are down 1 spot. It felt like Texans were fortunate to be even close in that game. C.J. Stroud didn't even have 100 passing yards. Now, Nico Collins is looking like it's making a big difference. But Joe Mixon, he's awesome. I think Joe Mixon was the only really impressive part of that Houston offense. But I don't know. I felt like there were some spurts of offense in this game, some spurts of defense, but really disappointing. I don't think this score does justice to how well the Packers played in this game, other than the 2 Jordan Love interceptions. It felt like the Packers should have won by a lot more. And, the Texans have struggled to put games away. They've struggled to put games away against teams that they should absolutely put games away pretty early against. So the Texans they're reeling a little bit. They have a really good record, and, they get the close to the really good Packers team. The Packers are one of the better teams in the NFL. It's 22-24, but the score doesn't tell the full story here. C.J. Stroud has struggled a little bit the last couple weeks. So we'll see if he can pick it up this week. Should be able to win this game against the Colts this upcoming week. So that should be a nice get-right game for him. Colts, one of the worst passing defenses in the NFL, one of the worst running defenses. So, you should be able to get right against the Colts this week. 6, Bills moving up 1. It's all week. The first half was a little concerning. It feels like that the Bills have been a little slow in the first half this year so far. Look at the Cardinals game. Look at, just a couple of the games. Quite a few of the games so far this year. It just feels like the Bills have been slow early on in the games. But it feels like once the Bills get that, that one play, a fourth down stop or, play momentum, it feels like it spirals and it just keeps on going and never stops. So once the Bills have that one good play, it feels like, you better be up by 20-plus points because they're going to be dominant and they're going to... How about Amari Cooper? Amari Cooper opens so many things up for this offense. He could win those one-on-ones that they didn't have before. Khalil Shakir could, but at the same time, opposing offenses or opposing defenses can kind of just zero in on him. Allen looked good, ran the football well. Defense did their job. Bills looking good. They're up 1 spot. Packers at 5. Didn't move them up, didn't move them down. It's a close game. They should have won by more. Jordan Love looked really good in this game. Other than those 2 interceptions, and they were bad interceptions, he looked really good. He had a really good game. This is one of those instances. You can't just look at those 2 interceptions and say, hey, no, Jordan Love had a bad game. No, Love had a good game. Other than just those 2 throws, which were really bad, Love played really well. So I'm not moving them up, not moving them down. Should have won this game by more, but it feels like the teams ahead of them right now are straight up still better. Lost to the Vikings a couple weeks ago. That's who's going to kick us off at 4. Vikings are down 2 spots. I mean, Darnold didn't have his best of games. You look at their secondary, like their secondary. It's not a very good secondary, and Brian Flores, he's going to disguise things. He's not going to give you the same look twice in one game. Do a lot of blitzing and this and that. And Jared Goff, early in his career, he was not good against pressure. And, he's got a heck of a lot better against pressure. So the blitzing didn't work. But it goes to show, the secondary, it's not great. And when you go up against a really good receiving room like the Lions have and a good, just an explosive offense that the Lions had, it's going to be hard to keep up. No matter who's calling the plays on defense, no matter who's calling the defenses, it's going to be tough if you don't have the talent out there when there's a talent disadvantage or talent discrepancy. Clearly there was. And the defense just didn't, they struggled, especially in that fourth quarter. And feels like the Vikings defense late in games has struggled in general. But nonetheless, hold on. There we go. For some reason, I couldn't find my notes. But, like I said, Sam Darnold didn't really have the best day. Talked about the secondary, the talent in the secondary. There's a discrepancy towards the receivers that the Lions had. When they go against talented offenses like this, they are going to happen. This is what happens. Packers figure out something in the second half versus the Vikings, and it seems like the Lions kind of play piggyback off of that. But then you have the Ravens at 3. I mean, tough start, but they're playing their game. Derrick Henry has just been insane. Top of that, you have Lamar Jackson. I mean, they're playing their football the way they want to play it, and that's what they weren't doing the first couple weeks. Why they haven't looked as good, as good in the first 2 weeks. But since then, they're playing their game. They've looked absolutely fine. I think the Ravens. I think if there's a year, I thought it was last year too. Even though the Ravens defense hasn't been good, the Ravens defense has struggled this year so far. Definitely not the usual Ravens defenses that we are used to seeing. Nonetheless, it's not horrible. It's not great, but they're up 1 spot. Big one versus the Bucs, and you did it pretty convincingly. You didn't let the beginning of the game kind of sway how the rest of the game goes. You didn't let that happen. You took that momentum back and really never gave it up since. Chiefs, for the first time this season, they dropped from number 1. And it's not because they're playing bad. Yes, the Chiefs are undefeated. Yes, they've beaten some really damn good football teams. The Niners, the Falcons. Who else have they beaten here? The Bengals, Chargers, who are sneaky. Did they play the Jets yet? I don't remember if they played the Jets yet, but the Broncos. The Broncos have been sneaky. It's just they find ways to win, right? but they're just another team that is just playing better football than them right now. Okay. Mahomes has been sloppy. Offense has been sloppy, but what I will say is this offense, this Chiefs team, if there's one word that I can use to describe this Chiefs team, it's versatility. They had 6 or 7 guys catch a football. They had 6 or 7 guys have a rush running the football. And, you look at defense, it's the same thing. They have these defensive guys that can do everything. They have corners that can do everything. Trent McDuffie, this might be the best secondary in the NFL, even losing L'Jarius Sneed. Trent McDuffie, Javarius Ward. And then you have, I think the one guy went down, Watson or something. I feel like someone went down in the secondary. It might have been. But I'm not penalizing the Chiefs because of their play. Okay? It's just because another team is playing at such a high level. They look so dominant. I don't know how you can't have the Lions at 1 right now. Genuinely. You look at this Lions offense, you look at this Lions team, this is my Super Bowl favorite, and that's it. I think it's pretty easy. Okay? You look at this Lions offense, they're insane. Insane. Amon-Ra St. Brown is one of the elite receivers in the league. I don't care what anyone says. One of the best receivers in the league. And if you don't think so, I don't know what to tell you. Amon-Ra St. Brown is one of the better in the league. He's clutch. And how about Jared Goff? Under pressure, let's talk about, we were talking about earlier, he got so much better under pressure compared to how he was in the beginning of the season. He struggled under pressure. His quarterback rating under pressure in the beginning of his year was like low 40s. Now it feels like, no, it doesn't feel like, but now his rating is like 60s, which is a heck of a lot better than 40s, than low 40s. I'll tell you. I can go on all day long about this Lions team. How about Brian Branch? Brian Branch taking over games. He has taken over a couple games this year so far. And, on top of that, the Lions have a top 5 defense. Very difficult to run the football on them, so it's going to be really difficult to control the game. And then they could run the football. They might be the best in the league at running the football themselves. David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs, and the way Jared Goff is playing, the offensive line, and you look at how the defensive line played, even without Aiden Hutchinson, they were fine. They stepped up. Now, I think the Lions should go ahead and maybe trade for Max Crosby. I think they should call the Raiders up and ask them what they want for Max Crosby. He is one of the best defensive players in the NFL. It's going to be really difficult to get him, and he's going to cost a lot of money, and the Lions are going to have quite a few players that they have to pay themselves. So I'm not too sure if they're going to want to do that. But just imagine Max Crosby and Aiden Hutchinson on opposite sides of the football. I don't want to. But I don't know how you could have the Lions anywhere else but 1. I think they're the clear-cut number 1 team in the NFL through 7 weeks of the 2024 NFL season. And I'm going to be honest with you, I don't think it's really close. I said clear-cut for a reason. Yeah, they went to Minnesota. In Minnesota, let's talk about the fourth quarter offense. I'm not done yet. I'm not done talking about this team yet. You look at that offense in the fourth quarter, it was just, I don't think there's any defense. I don't think there's any defense or team out there that can stop the Lions offense when they're playing like that in the fourth quarter. They had like 250 plus yards in the fourth quarter. Jared Goff was playing. I can go on all day. Like I said, I could go on all day. Coaching is great. They play that smack. They have the perfect balance, the literally perfect balance of old school and new school football. They have the perfect balance. This is the best team in the NFL right now, and it would not shock me one bit come February, come the end of January, the beginning of February, we're talking about the Lions going to the Super Bowl next year. Because look at the Niners are all beat up. The NFC is looking pretty wide open. In the beginning of the year, we were just talking about last week, the NFC is pretty tough. Packers, I think the Packers and the Vikings probably are going to give the Lions the biggest run for their money. And it's just going to take one tough game, one slip up of a game, one slip up of a play to lose to one of those two teams as well. So it's tough. 3 teams in the NFC East are Super Bowl contenders right now, or the NFC North, which is wild. Bills, they're in the AFC, dude. Don't even. The Commanders, I don't think the Commanders can hang with the Lions. I don't think many teams can hang with the Lions, to be fair. The Bucs, they're showing some weaknesses in their defense. The Falcons, they're not looking like a team that's going to compete with the Lions, although the Falcons are a pretty good team. Yeah, the Niners, I mean, they're so beat up at the moment. Even when they're fully healthy, I don't think they can hang with the Lions. Even the Seahawks, they have a really, really good defense. Maybe if there's a defense in the NFL that can compete with the Lions, maybe if it's the Seahawks when fully healthy. Maybe. I mean, other than that, I would love to see a Lions-Ravens or Lions and Bills Super Bowl. I would love to see it. Lions and Bills, you're going to get a first-time Super Bowl winner, which would be sick, which would be awesome. But yeah, guys, that's going to do it for this week's power rankings. I just spent so much time on the Lions. I mean, it was a good week of football. I enjoyed this past week of football. Besides the Colts game, Colts fan, and that game was probably the suckiest, probably the most boring to watch. Very sloppy football, but nonetheless, I thought it was a fun week of football, and I'm excited. We're into the the meat and the potatoes of the football season, the biggest time of the year. We're getting into not really necessarily the playoff push, but we're setting up for that pretty soon here. Ready going into week 8. Well, the season's already almost half over, believe it or not. It feels like it just started yesterday, but when you're having fun, time flies, they say. So, yeah, those are my NFL Week 8 power rankings going into Week 8 from 1 to 32. You guys let me know what you think. Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoy, make sure to like, subscribe, put that post notification bell on so you don't miss any future videos. And that'll be it. I'll catch you guys next time. JDW Sports Talk Show, signing off.